This is Marley again, doing another video from Central London. We are constantly being programmed. And what's crazy about it is that we are constantly being programmed by what I think is the world's biggest paedophile ring. I'll tell you why I say that. I live in London, right? And if I'm not here, if I spend time outside of London and then I come back, what starts to strike me around here is the amount of sculptures that you see of naked children. To me, that seems very, very weird, very alien. But you see, like here, outside somebody's house in Central London, these people have to come home every day to sculpt a sculpture of a little boy with his little penis hanging out. I mean, I think I'll get queasy looking at that all the time. But I mean, this is pretty much brought up in the way of the Romans, so it will be romantic. That's where that word comes from. Romantic means the way of the Romans. And those Romans weren't about much else than pedophilia, bestiality, homosexuality. So, you know, when you're asking your man to be romantic, just know what you're asking for. Anyway, I digress. The reason why I wanted to talk to you today, as I say, was because of something I found out about a man called Eric Gill, that's right. Talk to you about a man called Eric Gill. Now, Eric was a family man. You know, he had his wife, 2 children, 2 daughters, and he was a sculptor, a very well-renowned sculptor. He used to keep a diary of his sexual escapades, let's put it that way. So he would talk about his mistresses that he had, you know, he was lying to his wife about. He would also write down about all the paedophilia he was involved in, all the children that he was abusing. This is one of his sculptures up here. As you can see, you've got a young girl, it looks like, with 2 characters on either side. One has a flute, one has a book. He believed that the whole point of broadcasting is to mix knowledge with gaiety. And that was what that sculpture represented. The flute was to represent the Pied Piper calling all the children. And this is the BBC that we're walking next to. You can see, oh, just in time, BBC. The BBC has a few of this man's sculptures on its building. And what's crazy is that they know about this man and his deviant ways. He not only wrote about his paedophilia with other children, but also with his 2 daughters. When they were growing up, he was talking about what he was getting up to with them. As they grew up into adulthood, he continued having a sexual relationship with both his daughters, and his incestual escapades were also written down. And he would talk about his bestiality with the pet dog as well. This person was the person that the BBC had sculpted this sculpture as well, just behind me. Let me try and get that into shot. Let me see, how can I get both of us? There you go. So what you've got there is a sculpture of a young boy, again with his penis out, in the arms of an adult. And the art world over here sees this as the embodiment of broadcasting. And that is the reason why it's on the BBC building. So you have this strange sort of like, you know, bedfellows, this link between the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, and paedophilia. They have it all over their walls, part of their history. Even though people were complaining and campaigning to have that taken down, the BBC said nope, they're keeping it. It's part of who they are, part of their identity. They're not removing it. So why then would they go and have a 3-part series on paedophilia, talking about the sex ring that was going on up in the north, in Rotherham, by a Muslim paedophile ring. Why would they do that? It wasn't because they have a problem with paedophilia. We can see that already. It's all over the building. We know that. It was because it's part of a whole propaganda movement. The propaganda movement is to have you think that you can't trust these Muslims for love nor money. You can't trust them with anything, with your children, nothing, because all you keep seeing about them is stuff that is negative. They would have you believe that they have a problem with paedophilia. They don't. They have a problem with you thinking there's something okay with Islam. They have an issue with that, and that's why they continue to push that propaganda. There we go. So we have on all three main sides of the building these statues done by the same Eric Gill, again with the piper and children dancing along to the tune of the Pied Piper, or the paedophile Pied Piper. That's what they will have on their building, and then have you believe they think that there's something wrong with paedophilia. They don't. They don't see nothing wrong with it at all. Jimmy Savile, good example. There he was continuing to abuse children whilst also broadcasting for the BBC. No, not Noel Edmonds, Rolf Harris. Rolf Harris, again, happily abusing children whilst having one of the highest rating children's shows in the country because he was part of the BBC. There is another set of propaganda that's happening as well, which I think is important to pick up on and put you on notice about. Last year there was a show called Gangland, which was on BBC, Channel 4. And on Channel 4 they did like a 2 or 3 part series about gang culture in the UK. What was interesting was all those gangs had black people in it. They would go on like as though this gang culture is who black people are. They didn't speak about gangs up in the north. They didn't speak about gangs up in Scotland. They just kept it to the most fearsome black people that they could find, so that you as the individual, the watcher, you would start to think that actually this is who black people are. It's a bit like that film Inception. You watch Inception, the whole idea of the film, the whole point of the film was about propaganda. How you get people to believe what you want them to believe. How you go from one person having one set of ideas and you get them to believe your set of ideas. It's not good enough for you to say, this is what you should believe. What you have to do is give them the positions, the viewpoints, the information that then moves their thought process to start believing what you want to believe. That's why those people who are in the higher echelons of media will tell you that their job is the opinion making business. They're not in the business of selling advertising. If your opinion on, let's say, for example, beauty is, a European ideal and you're not European, that's because your opinion has been made for you by this corporation and others like it. If you believe that, Islam is inherently bad and bad for people in the UK, it's because your opinion has been decided for you and you've now taken it on and assimilated that opinion and made it your own. This is what goes on. And it's continuing with the black community as well. They're telling you that we are also another set of people that we need to be worried about. What they're going to just do is show you not the problem, they're going to show you the symptoms. All this thing about gun crime, knife crime, so on and so forth, they are symptoms of a problem. The problem being that if you're a young black man or a young black woman, your opportunities are way, way, way less than those of your European counterparts. So when we see things happening to them, we don't look at it as a problem. We're quite happy for that to happen. We see people in the news, they're going to jail for some crime. We don't question the crime. We don't question we don't question anything about it. We just say, good, they're gone, no problem. Because of the propaganda that we're being fed. We don't realize that a lot of times, most of these young ones that are in prison aren't in prison because they killed someone or aren't in prison because of something they've done. They're in prison because they know someone who's done something. Not because they've done something, but because they're associated with somebody who's done something. So it means that they can keep the prisons nice and full, and we as a society don't even question it. Even those of us who are in the same community don't question it, because we are having our opinions made for us by mass media, by the TV, by the radio, by entertainment. We think that we're being entertained, and in actual fact, our opinions are being made for us. From Hitler's been telling you, if you tell a lie, make it a big one, keep repeating it, and then people will believe it. And that's what we're seeing happening all around us. We see a lot of people in our community, trying to figure out how we deal with this problem. How we deal with the problem of knife crime and gun crime. If you look at trying to deal with that as a problem, you've already lost. Because actually, it's not a problem, it is a symptom of a problem. If you deal with the problem, then the symptoms will take care of themselves. If you want to see fundamental change, you're going to have to make a fundamental change of actions as a community. We're going to have to start changing what we do as a community if we want to see that stop. Because if we leave it as it is, we're only going to see more of our young people being taken into prison, and we're going to see more and more people being killed, and we'll start to think, well, it's okay. Look at the USA. They've been having this propaganda going for the good last 20 years, 20, 30 years. So now, when the police kill young black men, old black men, young children, women with impunity, and nothing happens to them time and time and time again, no one minds, no one cares. Those people in the black community, they may care. They will, you know, hands up, don't shoot, and all the rest of it. I am a man, and Black Lives Matter, all that stuff. But the people who are actually in power, who actually can make a change, do something about it, they don't. Because as far as they're concerned, the problem is with the young black people, the black people. They're the problem. The police are doing their job, so they're going to kill them, and we're not going to stop them. So now, our brothers and sisters in the USA are at the sharp end of that propaganda, you know, the outcome of that propaganda. We are right now in the middle of it. And if we're not careful, we're going to have the same thing happen over here. I believe that the killing of Mark Duggan was the police trying out that same nonsense over here. They shot that man for no reason. They said he had a gun. They couldn't find a gun. Miraculously, they found a gun 20 yards away from where he was. They got video evidence of police going over there, dropping something in the corner. But still, they were like, yeah, he had a gun. He was in a box, in a sock, and then within a split second, he was able to take the gun out of the box, out of the sock, throw it away, and before the man even took a shot, because he was in fear of his life. They use the same bollocks every time. If there wasn't the uprising that happened immediately and viscerally around London, which then caught on up and down the country, that kind of lifestyle, that kind of thing would have continued. They would have continued doing that kind of stuff to black people. But what they didn't realize was that they hadn't put in enough work on the propaganda side. So when they killed that young black man, the response was an expected response. You don't kill people for no reason and just get away with it. The only way they can do that is if they start to up or ramp up the propaganda against our community. And that's what you're seeing. That's why you're seeing the Evening Standard daily, weekly, showing people who have been killed, black people who have been killed by other black people. But they don't daily and weekly show you white people who have been killed by other white people. They don't do that. They'll just stick to the script, stick to that propaganda. You'll see the gangland and you'll see the other stuff going on, talking about how black people are violent. So that when they try it again, and they will try it again, they will do it again, they'll look again to see what the response is. And if the response is lesser, they'll continue the propaganda until the point where they can kill black people with impunity over here, and the response is just as muted. Yeah, maybe you might get a few people who say, hands up, don't shoot. Yeah, maybe you get a few people say Black Lives Matter, but for the majority of people, for the dominant society, absolutely no problem at all. Continue doing what you're doing, police officer. Thanks for your service. What our job is to do as black people is to change the story. We can't do it by trying to attack the symptoms. We have to do it by attacking the problem. The problem is that we haven't, as a community, provided anything for our young people to go into. We need to create businesses. We need to create institutions. We need to create opportunities for our young people, whether it is within a family, and if we can't do it within a family, but as a community, we could do it. We need to start putting in that work, because only if we put in that work will we start to see, will our young people start to see opportunities for them outside of that lifestyle. I hope this all makes sense. I hope this makes sense to you. Please like, please share, and let's do the work.